Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I am Chris Witt, and with me, as always, is Mr. Adam Schmidt. Adam, how are you today?
I'm doing all right, considering we've got some crazy stuff going on today, which we're going to get into. But first of all, how are you?
I'm about as fit as a fiddle and fine as a frog hair.
Nice. I agree with that. I agree with that about you, not that I am. But but before we jump into the big news of the day, and we're lucky enough to it's unfortunate, honestly, the subject matter, but we're lucky enough for the second week in a row to have a major thing happen right before or a few hours before we come on here to record this. So before we jump into that, because we're going to have plenty on that, we do want to talk about the people who support us, and that starts with training personally with Peggy Edwards. No matter your level of fitness, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or you're advanced, if you like to be challenged a little or a lot and want the benefit of working with a personal trainer without the personal trainer cost, then training personally with Peggy Edwards is for you. Training personally is interval circuit training for all levels with a personal trainer at your pace on your time. Peggy Edwards keeps your workouts safe. She keeps them fresh. She keeps them fun. She keeps them clean. The gym is clean as a whistle, if that's a term. And, yeah. So
Whistles are as dirty. Whistles are really as dirty as a thing as you can think of. Think about all the spittle in a whistle. I feel like spittle is a phenomenal word too. If I end up having to do 2 minutes of comedy on this because I lose whatever bet we've made, spittle is definitely going to be used in my comedy segment.
You already have the premise for a joke right there. How dirty is a whistle?
How dirty is a whistle?
So there you go. Nice word. Okay, so yeah, training personally with Peggy Edwards is located at 3634 Boudinot Avenue. If you're in Cincinnati, Ohio, on the west side, or anywhere near there, it's worth a little bit of a drive. If you have to make a drive, there are clients that come from all over, to be honest with you, to visit and to work out. Any information you need is on the website, trainingpersonally.com. You can email Peggy Edwards, owner-operator, personal trainer, certified personal trainer, all the certifications you can imagine. She'll help you with your nutrition, any injuries you're coming off of or something, you want to get back in shape after an injury. You got to be careful about certain things. She'll modify everything for you. Like I said, the gym is spaced out. You're going to have your space. You're not going to have to work out right next to a person. Everything's clean. All the equipment's clean, ready to go for you. Peggy Edwards will be there to help guide you through everything. Contact her, Peggy, P-E-G-G-Y, at trainingpersonally.com through email. She's on Facebook, Training Personally. Give her a call, give her a text, 513-328-0296. That's Training Personally with Peggy Edwards, 513-328-0296.
Adam, you know what the best thing about training personally is?
Yes, I do, Chris.
Tell me.
It is if you go there and you tell Peggy Edwards that you learned about training personally from the Nosebleed Sports Podcast, she will give you your first month of workouts for free. So every day, you can go every single day for a month, and they will all be free.
That's pretty impressive. So definitely let everybody know about that. Also brought to you by Green Solace. Elizabeth Green is an experienced professional massage therapist. She provides you with a massage tailored to your needs, whether it's just to relax and unwind, or you need a focused massage on your problem area. Prices are very reasonable. She's got a perfectly clean, sanitary, all the good stuff for people touching people these days. All those things are in mind in an office area that you can get it done. She'll also come to your house and take care of you as well. Whenever I talk about massage, I feel like I got to be careful with my word choice. I don't feel like take care of you is maybe the right word. Maybe the right word is make sure that whatever ailments you have when it comes to a masseuse, she'll make sure that you are massaged. However, I can't do. Listen, I love my man BT. I love his wife. I love everybody involved in Green Solace. But it's so hard to do these reads without laughing a little bit, right?
You know what? There are terms in sports we see a lot of times that, outside of sports, people might chuckle at them and think, oh, that's a little innuendo or something like that, or that could be a double entendre. But those of us that are like involved in sports so heavily and talk about them so much and stuff, a lot of those things you don't even like think twice about anymore. So it's
No,
probably the same for the folks who are in the massage industry and people who get massages all the time. I'm sure it's probably the same for them, but I get what you're saying. I wasn't really thinking about
it's
it
hard for a guy with a 9-year-old, 12-year-old's personality to read these things. But honestly, she really will take care of you. She'll make sure you're relaxed. If you need a relaxation massage, she goes through the whole deal, take care of you. If you've got a sore back, if you've got, like me, right above my hip area, my lower back, it needs it bad. I have my shoulder. I was just in a car accident on Sunday, so I'm going to have to go make sure that she takes care of my back and any stiffness that I got going on. So anyway, you can go to greensolace.com, GREENESOLACE.com. You can schedule everything there online, or if need be, you can contact her at 513-702-4178. Set up an appointment online or with her.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm gonna have to book something sometime. You know how I am. I'm all freaked out about the whole coronavirus stuff, even still. But that's probably worth it. And like you said, she does everything. Everything's completely sanitary. If you're in something like that, in that line of work, of course you're gonna sanitize everything all the time, and you're gonna make sure everything's clean. So
we call it Adam Safe.
Adam Safe. Okay, if it's Adam Safe,
it's Adam Safe.
Then it's safe for everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely Adam Safe. There's no doubt.
That sounds good. Well, I'll tell you what, Chris.
Tell me.
We might as well jump right into this thing because a few hours before. So we're recording on Wednesday, August 26th. And earlier in the day, we were supposed to have more NBA playoff games, right? So we were going to have first of all, the 3 of the 4 Eastern Conference series are over because they were all sweeps.
Yep.
And so I couldn't have been more wrong about that. But the Milwaukee Bucks were most likely going to finish off what is a sweep after losing the first game of their series.
How about the Lakers and the Bucks both with an opportunity tonight to win after losing the first game of their series? And if it doesn't bring in the culture that we live in social media and everything else in this world, how many people out there were saying that's it? This is going 7. This is what the Lakers and the Bucks are going to lose their series. Like all the crazy talk that comes out because of one game. I can't. I'm halfway ready to retire from the media game.
Yeah.
I can't be involved in all of it. Chuck, I love Charles Barkley, but come on. The best thing that ever happened to the Lakers was he guaranteed that the Trailblazers were going to beat the Lakers.
He said they were going to sweep them.
Sweep them. That's exactly right. I believe his exact words were, if the Blazers win the first game, they will sweep the Lakers. Well, you got to win the first one to sweep them. So
yeah. Yeah, I think that was more, and not anybody who thought the Bucks were going to lose their series after losing the first game, And look, they didn't look great. They were like 500 or something in the bubble during the
Yeah.
seeding games. So I get people were maybe thinking that they were losing it a little bit or losing their edge a little bit or something like that. But the Bucks were still way better than Orlando. But in that Lakers series, it was more about the way that the Trailblazers were playing. They played so
But
great during
not
the
the way
seeding
that the
games.
Trailblazers were playing, just the way that the way the Trailblazers played in. You're right. It's were playing. I was going to say in one game, but no, you're right. They blew the bubble away.
It was, yeah, and it was because people were talking about that before they won that first game.
Yeah.
People were saying the Blazers might win that series because they were playing so well, and because the Lakers did sort of something similar to the Bucks, where they didn't, in those 8 seeding games or whatever, 8 or 10 seeding games, they were 500 or whatever. So I kind of understood that people believing in the Blazers, and I still had Lakers in 6, and so did you. And that could still happen, but like you said, especially the way they looked the last few games, much better. And so same with the Bucks. So we had an opportunity today to see, like you said, two more series close out, but those are being put on hold because they decided today. The Milwaukee Bucks decided not to come out on the floor to get ready for the game this afternoon because they were talking about possibly boycotting the game to bring more attention to what happened a couple of days ago in Wisconsin, where another person of color was shot by police officers. You probably have seen, if you're listening to or watching this, you've probably seen that. And we're not going to break down that video or talk about what happened in that situation. You know what it is. So we're going to just come at it from the sports perspective, and games are being canceled because of that, to draw more attention, to kind of bring the focus back to, we have problems here, we need to address them. And so if I'm speaking from everything that I've heard for the last 4 hours or so, 4 or 5 hours, that is the goal in what they're trying to accomplish by kind of putting sports on hold for tonight. So by now, the NBA's done that. The WNBA followed up, and they canceled I think they had 3 games on the slate tonight. So they canceled those games. And at least 3 Major League Baseball games, including the Reds, who were playing the Milwaukee Brewers, another Wisconsin team. So across sports, they're kind of taking responsibility to use their platform to bring some more attention to this. We've been talking about it for a couple months now, ever since the George Floyd case. And that was one of the big, things, trying to decide whether they wanted to come into this bubble and do this at all. Guys were torn. We heard from a lot of guys talking about how they may not want to do this because playing games is going to take the focus away from what it needs to really be, the more important issues here, the social issues that need to be addressed, that they want to make sure are addressed. And they decided to play it, and it's been going really well. And they have used that platform. They decided they're going to go ahead and do that because they put together all these stipulations. We will come play if you agree, if the league agrees and the Players Association agrees to, we want to be able to put what we want to put on the back of our jerseys to call attention to it. We want to put, do the Black Lives Matter patches and the Black Lives Matter logo on the floor, and and use their time in the media to discuss those kinds of things and speak out about those things, whatever players and coaches want to do that. And they've done a ton of that stuff. So I guess I just want to get your opinion, Chris, on the decision to, at least for tonight, to cancel games to bring more attention back to that in the wake of what happened in Wisconsin.
So like for me, how I don't know. It's so hard because we have this conversation all the time about when it comes to these things, and it seems like ever since the corona hit, these are the things that we talk about, things that are hard to talk about, and you don't want to misstep and say the wrong thing. But it's not only that; it's more of I want to make sure I'm able to clearly state what I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that I feel like I don't want to stumble over my words. It's more I want to. I I read I read a thing on the Twitter from Stan Van Gundy. He's the bigger one, right?
Yes.
Younger brother. And he said, and I kind of like this because a lot of things have been happening, and the Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. But he said this on tweet. He said, it's not about one shooting in one city. This is frustration and anger that after 400 years of racial oppression, there has not been nearly enough change. And I feel like every time this happens, it's the same exact thing that we're talking about. I had this conversation with my wife, and she said to me earlier today, she said, I don't understand how this keeps happening. That is maybe a side of privilege or whatever for us, because for someone who has grown up in the suburbs or whatever you want to say, it's hard to believe that this can possibly keep happening. There's so much attention on this at this point in time. It's just hard to believe, but it is happening. And it's hard to say if or when something like this will end. So when it comes to the sports side of things, for me, as much as I hate it because I love sports and I hate when a game's not played, like
Sure.
that is hard for me. I miss Christian Yelich today, which is either a good or a bad thing in my fantasy baseball league because he hasn't been playing all that great, although he's been hitting a little better over the past week or two, of course, when we play the Reds. But so obviously I want baseball. There's so many people that want sports, that want basketball, want playoff basketball. I mean, playoff NBA basketball. How can you not want that?
Mhm.
However, in order to get change, in order for there to be change, there are so many people that have no idea what these people are even going through, what Black people in just their everyday life have to go through, including me. I can only go off of what I hear and what is said to me. So for that reason, the only way to invoke change is to be heard, right? You have to be heard in order for people to realize what's going on and take a closer look. Well, if there's any better way during the Rona deal to make yourself heard, it's to not play a playoff basketball game, just not play. Now, this is going to be the talk. The thing I don't like is there's going to be more talk about the fact that the games weren't played and not enough talk about why the games weren't played. There's obviously going to be a ton of talk about why they're not played, but I think there's still be more. I just feels like there's always going to be that section that wants to complain. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So on the sports side, this is your voice. Everybody talks about having a voice. This is their voice. They've come from a lot of them came from areas where they felt a certain way towards police officers, things like that, and have seen this kind of oppression being done for years. I can't think of a better way for your voice to be heard by every middle-aged white guy, middle-aged whatever, 1% or 2% whatever, whatever guy, whatever people you're talking about that don't understand, this is the way to do it. So for the people that are upset about it because they're not getting sports, I understand your frustration, but I hope you understand theirs and where they're coming from. I think if anything, if you're getting upset about the fact that they're doing this, well, do it on your own time, not your employer's. Well, that's kind of the whole point of a boycott or of a protest, right? It's not on your time. It's not, you don't only do it on your time. You're doing it at times so people notice. That's the point. So while this is not fun for just your average sports fan who wants a game to be played, it's the perfect time to get way more people's attention. In my point of view, to be honest, the thing I would have loved to see is there was a lot of talk starting this morning. Jay Williams talking about Kyle Lowry, text him on the new ESPN morning show. And Jay Williams was talking about Kyle Lowry saying they're really thinking about protesting tomorrow, their game. The Raptors were. And obviously it excelled and got bigger and bigger. And then the Bucks were the first game of the day and decided and it was 4:00 and they had not come out onto the court yet. And that's when it all kind of, it all became official that there was not going to be any games. Everybody was going to coincide in the NBA playoffs. So I got to tell you though, if I were the Bucks and I was the first game, that was the Magic, who they playing? I can't remember.
Yeah, Orlando. Yeah.
I feel like I would have a conversation with the Magic, just team to team, and just say, listen, I say we go out and we strap up and we let everybody turn the game on because everybody wants to know if we're going to play or if we're not, because it's been big news all day. And when the ref goes to throw the ball up in the air, everybody just sit down. I think that would have been a huge, to me, that would, because then you got on TV. The game started. Even more eyes are on you, and then it's ended, and then the whole day's ended. That's what I would have done, because I feel like that would have got even more attention, even more eyes on you. You have an actual visualization of this happening. I think that would have been something that I would have done or tried to make happen, but it's the exact same thing. They're doing the same thing. It's no different. So that's my opinion. What's yours?
When they first decided to do that, when the Bucks decided they weren't going to come out and play or whatever, and they made it official that they were going to postpone that game or boycott the game, my first reaction was, I understand why you're doing that, but what is that going to do? And then it didn't take too long to realize that they still had to fill that time on the air. I think the game was on NBA TV. So the next two and a half hours were, they basically had to go on the spot from the studio and have people on, just keep bringing people on, and go back to, they went to the guys that were going to call that game a couple of times. They went to the guys that were going to call the next game. And they just brought people on to talk about the reason that they were not playing. So it's already taking effect, I think, in the way they want it to. To start is that, that conversation's being had. Why is this still happening? What's going on in our society in America that, has been going on for a long time and that people are fed up with, and all that kind of stuff. So it already has had an effect in that way, I think, in the way that they want it to. Now, for me though, I also was thinking like, okay, but then what happens? Like, what now? Are you just going to, is that it? Like, are you going to, because if you do this for one day, you have the conversation for one day, it's really a conversation that's been going on for a couple of months now. So how much more is it really? How much closer is it going to get you to where you want to be? How much of an effect is it really going to have? And the answer though, I think that they got is, we don't know yet, because they don't know yet. So the players decided they're gonna do this but they're holding for an all players, the entire NBA can attend at 8 o'clock tonight. It's 10:52 right now from the time Eastern time from when we're recording. So, and we haven't heard any news that has come out of that meeting. So, and when you and I spoke earlier today, I said, oh, well, meeting's at 8. We don't start till 10:30. Yeah, we'll know something by then. And I wasn't thinking that's a meeting that they're going to try to decide what to do and how to actually have an impact and make some, move forward with some sort of change that's meaningful more than what they've already done, because they feel like all the wording that they're using on the jerseys and on the court and, speaking out before and after games and all that kind of stuff, they feel like because something's happened again, that this isn't working. So they're stopping this and using this time to have a meeting league wide to try to figure out what to do next, what to do next to take it to the next level. So we aren't going to know what that's going to be until they come out of this. And it's probably going to take more than one meeting, right? I mean,
yeah,
you're not going to come up with a major, you're not going to fix these problems in one meeting by a sports league, so we're going to have to, it's going to take a lot more. And I don't know if it's going to take just canceling the playoffs and focusing their efforts on this new thing, whatever that's going to be, or if they're going to use the time in the mornings or whatever to meet all day and then play the games at night and continue with the playoffs, or whatever they're going to do. But we're going to find out. And so we don't really know yet what this is going to mean. We don't know how long they're going to stop playing. But we're going to, it sounds like they're going to try to make, come up with some real solutions. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that's going to be.
I don't know that they're going to come up with, that a bunch of NBA players are going to come up with solutions. I don't know what kind of solutions they're going to come up with or for what, but I think that they will definitely try to figure out a way to continue to make their voice heard the best way possible. And at some point in time, that is going to be playing. You're going to have to continue to play to make your voice heard, whether that's next year or what. I mean, it's going to, at some point in time, your voice is going to be more heard when you are in the spotlight at the time. NBA playoffs are spotlight. If the NBA playoffs are canceled, that spotlight is gone. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but that's what's going to happen. In my opinion, I think it would be smart for them to figure out a way to continue to play, but have maybe a separate press conferences, figure something out. But I don't think ending the playoffs is going to be more beneficial to what they want. It's not beneficial to me because I want to watch basketball, right? But I also believe for what they want to get done on their side of things, I don't think it's beneficial for them to end it either. Another thing I wanted to say when I was talking before, one thing I've heard and I've seen a lot on Twitter and heard a lot of people saying so far is that they feel like this could be ruining the game, whether it's basketball or baseball or whatever. Number one, it's 2020, right? Everything's ruined this year. Can we just throw 2020 out of every, like, if anybody asked about the 20s, it starts in 2021, okay? And the end of the 2000 teens is 2019. 2020 is not going to exist 20 years from now. Nobody's even going to remember it because nothing happened. Not nothing happened. A lot happened, but
everything happened.
It was just ridiculous and it sucks. So I don't believe, and there's been things like this that have happened in the past. We've had boycotts. We've had, I mean, shoot, people were talking about this is going to ruin the game for baseball. Baseball went through a strike year where they didn't have a World Series. Baseball went through a strike year where they had 2 separate seasons, and the team with the best record in the 2 seasons didn't even make the playoffs. Cincinnati Reds, 1980 something. So the games will survive. I just want everyone to know, I know it sucks now and we're in a right now culture, but the games will survive. I promise. I promise you. Baseball will survive. Basketball will survive. At some point in time when football starts, there's going to be a lot of this going on in the world when football comes on. So I promise you that football will survive as well. Instead of thinking about it ruining the game, think about the reason maybe why they're actually coming out and doing this stuff, man. Jackie Robinson was getting spit on, had to stay in different hotels. It's a little better than that. It's a little better than that now. They're making tons of money, and they're making just as and no matter what color your skin is, you're gonna make just as much money in the sports world as anybody else. So maybe in certain areas it's gotten much better, but in a lot of other areas it has not changed much at all. And I think that's the point that people are trying to get across, and that they want to get across to us. So the game's not being ruined. That's my big thing. The game's not. The game is not going to be ruined or die because of any of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Sports have been around for such a long time now. It's not going to be, yeah. And I know that there are people who, have been talking about this for 4 years now, or whatever it's been since Colin Kaepernick started this whole movement. Not that he started the movement himself.
He did not start this movement. And in fact, I've said since the beginning, I think Colin Kaepernick is probably the last person anybody wanted to have be the face of any movement. No offense.
I agree with that. He had the right idea, but he wasn't the best guy because he made some mistakes as kind of the face for a little while there. But luckily there have been a lot of guys who have come forward and gotten involved who are a little bit more equipped to handle that and make it a anyway. I
know what you're saying, and I'm probably messing with you, because if you're watching this on YouTube, I just realized that my iPad is at 10%, so I had to find a way to get this thing plugged in, because I'm moving around on Adam like crazy, and he's probably going, "What is this dude doing?"
No, this is fun. If you were listening to this on any sort of if you're listening to the podcast version, check out the version on YouTube.
Because it makes way more sense why Adam couldn't finish his last. It makes way more sense why he couldn't finish his last statement.
No, but I do agree about that. But when Colin Kaepernick started taking a knee during the national anthem, this was the idea. There's, we have some problems systemically, and we need to address them, and we can't just keep ignoring them and that kind of thing. So, but since that time, people have, there have been people who have said, I'm not okay with that. I'm not going to watch football anymore. I'm not going to watch baseball anymore, basketball anymore, whatever, because I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff in sports. And if you make that decision, that's fine. You don't have to watch. Totally fine. Everybody has their choice, but it's still a sport. Basketball is the NBA is in the best shape it's been in its life. Even in the 80s, even in the 90s, it's the marketing, the money that's in it. It's there. And same with, and I know baseball has been a little bit down, I think, money-wise, but it's still, people still love baseball. People still love baseball. What's that?
Tell that to Mike Trout and Mookie Betts.
Oh yeah, right, yeah. Those guys are making plenty of money. But I just mean people coming to games and stuff like that. But they're still sports, and that's the thing. That's why it's easy for me to separate. If I was unhappy about, if I disagreed wholeheartedly with, something that with this whole thing that basketball has been embracing, the Black Lives Matter stuff, if I disagreed with that, I feel like I would have no problem just separating it and still watching the games, because I'm only watching them for the games anyway. Like I enjoy,
Yeah.
I do get so involved in it that I watch interviews with players, and I have my favorite players and guys I'm not crazy about, and stuff like that, because I spend so much time watching, and I invest that, and I invest some emotion and some, part of my life into this sport. So I do, and same with baseball. You have your favorite, especially in your hometown teams, you have your favorite players, because a lot of that is because you get to know those guys a little bit. Do you know them like their family does? Do you know them like their teammates does? No, but you get to know through interviews and through watching them play, and you get to see their mannerisms, and you get to see so much by all of this stuff being televised so heavily now, more than ever, that you get to know these guys a little bit. And especially when you get guys that speak out and are good sound bites, and sometimes that's detrimental to some of those guys, and sometimes it's great. You get guys that are willing to speak their mind and really give you good, long, thoughtful answers on whatever you're asking them about, whether it's game specific stuff or social stuff, or it's guys that are willing to come out and speak, speak and give themselves a little bit to the public, and make their kind of, what's inside of them come out a little bit, so you get to know them a little bit better. That's part of the draw as well, right? Because it's easy, it's more fun to root for people that you feel like, I get the feeling that he's a good guy, right? LeBron James, I'm a fan of LeBron James because he's the best player in the world, but he's also never been in trouble, and he's posts, every day about his family, and he's players like that you get to know a little bit and you get a good feeling from, and because they're positive influences on something that you spend so much time investing in for entertainment initially, right? But then you get involved in that, and guys speak out, and LeBron's spoken out. I'm only using him as an example.
Yeah.
He's a guy that has spoken out as much or more than anybody about all of this social justice stuff, right? So, but if you don't agree with LeBron James about anything he says, or you think he needs to keep politics out of it or whatever, you can. I feel like you can still watch games if you are a fan of the sport. I feel like if you are a fan of the sport, you will still watch the games, right? If you don't care that much, then fine. Whatever, then watch Wheel of Fortune or whatever's on. But Wheel of Fortune's a great show. No disrespect to Wheel of Fortune. I love it.
No doubt.
It's no Jeopardy, but Wheel of Fortune's still a good show. Now, I think I got off track a little bit there, but I do agree. I do a little bit.
A little bit. All right.
I do agree with what you said, though, and I really, it comes down to that we don't exactly know what's going to happen from this boycott, right? We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know what they're going to use this time, because they are using this time. That's the good thing. I think that's the important thing, is just to start, is that they're not boycotting this and just saying, hey, Black Lives Matter, hey, stop police brutality. They're getting together and hopefully trying to come up with another level now of something to help, something to move forward, rather than just kind of saying the things that they've been saying for a while now, for especially the last couple months, and even before that.
Yeah.
So they're using this time to meet, to try to bounce ideas off of each other. If every NBA player is involved in this thing, you know, you have a ton of people, and I'm sure coaches and owners and everybody's involved. You have enough people and you have enough intelligent people that are going to put their minds together and hopefully come up with, and like I said, it's going to take more than one, you know, 3 or 4 hour meeting or whatever, but get the ball rolling on something that they can do, and using this platform, like you said, um, to figure out something else, something to move the to move forward with changes that need to happen so that we can have a more level playing field for people. Um, so I'm not really sure, and there's a lot, Chris. There are so many details about this thing that we could really dive into, but that's, I feel like, number one, kind of like you said before, like I feel like I have to be careful, really, really careful. I feel like we probably feel the same way, like, you know, especially as white men in our late 30s. It, you know, what we say matters, not matters more. What we say is going to be, I almost said matters more. What we
Speaking,
say
gosh,
might be scrutinized a little bit more by people who feel like people that look like us have not, you know, have been insensitive about before, or have just not cared about before.
but you know what? At the same time, who was talking about it today? I don't know if it was Keyshawn Johnson or who. Somebody in the morning was talking about, or maybe it was Dan Levitard, or somebody was talking today on the radio about this stuff. Is there? There's been marches for a long time. There's been a lot of things going on like this for a very long time. But a few months ago, with the George Floyd incident, that with his murder, and I'll say it,
Yeah.
that happened. A lot of young white people were involved in the marches and things like that, and
Sure.
just more white people involved in all. So it shows that there's more people coming together, and you have to have, you can't just be one ethnicity, one type of people that come together and protest against something. You need other ethnicities, other backgrounds to join you in order to get more people to pay attention to it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I feel like less people will pay attention to something if they don't see anybody that looks like them involved.
Yeah. That makes sense. Now we have seen, you know, there's even more divide in some cases, even with people who, even though we've had more involvement with people who are not black, whether it's white people or Latino people or anybody, you know, anybody who has gotten involved in speaking out about making some change and trying to make things a little bit more equal for the people who have been oppressed traditionally for years and years. So, but I was just saying, I just mean that it's hard because I think that, and that's part of the thing too, is the culture, the way the culture has gotten the last few years. It's as great as it is that everybody is starting to understand a little bit more, and starting to try to, you know, find justice for things that have been going on, and not just for black people, but for like women, you know, the whole Me Too movement, um, that whole thing, that that's there are minority groups, you know, all over. Like every minority group has experienced some oppression in some way for a long time in this country, because that's the way it was. That's the way it was when it started. And as things have progressed and evolved, it's it's evolved in a good direction, but it hasn't gotten to where it is supposed to be, right? And so that's it's just that we've gotten to where we're now saying, okay, this is a problem and we need to do something about it, and let's start figuring this out now. um, and then some people have taken it, people have almost tried to prove themselves so much that they take it, that they don't exactly understand uh, how to go forward and how to call people out that need to be called out, and how to start making change.
That's that's gonna happen.
Right.
That's no matter what you go, what topic you are talking about when it comes to uh, like the Me Too or to racial headlines or anything like that, racial oppression, anything. There's always going to be people that either one take it way too far, go over the top, and try and just are looking like actually go out and search out and try to find one little thing to make anybody they see a bad person
And provoke people.
and provoke them to be
We see
bad.
videos all the time on the internet of that stuff, right?
So ridiculous. If there is, can I just tell you this? If you want to protest anything, you should be able to protest whatever you want. I say go for it. But it's just like your freedom of speech and everything else. Just because you have freedom of speech doesn't mean you can say something and there's not a consequence to it.
Right.
So if you walk into a bunch of white supremacists, Nazi loving whoever, and decide that that's where you're in the middle of that group of people is where you're going to have your protest, there's going to be a consequence that comes with that. You are provoking something that you won't be able to change. You're not going to be able to change that group right there. You could change someone's mind before they get into that group at some point in time by being outside of them. But if you're going to go into certain places, there's some things are just better off left alone. I'm not saying those people are right by any means. I'm just saying don't provoke things and try to just to get a video of people doing bad things. That's not the point of this.
Yeah, and that's what I was just kind of saying that in order to say that it feels like you have to be really careful about how you have this conversation.
It does.
And that can make it hard. But ultimately, I think people, if you don't understand, enough people are speaking out now who have had experiences, and who have people close to them who have had experiences, that it's not too hard to understand now. I think that there is something happening here. I think there are too many people who are speaking out or who have spoken out to ignore that. Hold on, that, not everybody's lying about this. Not everybody's exaggerating.
Exactly.
Not everybody's
Exactly.
the truth here.
I have always been a person who sometimes is a little skeptical of what people are coming at me saying when somebody tells me a story or they tell me something that happened and it seems over the top. Like there's no way you're telling me some guy was just walking to his car and got shot in the back 7 times and he didn't have a gun or anything. Like that's okay. There's something else happened there, right? That's in my head. That's how I would always be. And now I feel like I feel like I've grown from that. I don't need a video necessarily to believe, yeah, that might actually be all that happened. But for a long time, man, I'll be completely honest with you. I would always be somebody who's a little skeptical of something, and not just in this situation. I shouldn't have brought it into that exact story of the Jacob Blake thing, but just in general with anything. Like, all right, well, what's the background behind it, right? You always hear people take a comment from somebody and post it, and you don't know what was said before it or after it. And I am always one that gets a little skeptical. All right, before we start pushing blame on everything and saying somebody is something else, tell me how the whole conversation went.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that has happened for a very long time. There's been a lot of people like me for a very long time that push things like this under the rug, push things that happen as, well, there's more to it. I don't necessarily believe that. All I can say is hopefully more people can see that maybe instead of automatically disbelieving the bad, maybe, give it a little bit of a thought beforehand. I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, to try to come at that.
I completely agree with you, and I'm as skeptical a person as anybody, and I'm the exact same way, and that is one of the things, like, and we don't have to use this thing that happened with, and I'm glad you said his name, Jacob Blake, in, I think it's Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Kenosha, yeah.
I don't know why I didn't just say those things earlier, but
because, dude, I'll tell you why. Because
I was trying to be careful.
There's a little part of you that's a little nervous about what to say and how to say it.
Right.
There's a little part.
And that's what I'm getting at. Yeah. And so yeah, and that is with all of this stuff, and that's part of what I'm saying too, is people who have gone a little overboard or go out and provoke and have their video camera going and trying to get, during the protests, we saw those things too. We saw, a little more, we saw more police brutality in some cases during protests. And we also saw videos of people doing things to police officers who were just standing there trying to protect like a city building or something like that.
Right.
And not doing anything, not fighting or anything, but people were going up to and people throw things at cops or scream in their face or, trying to provoke and trying to get them to do something while the camera's rolling to say, see, here's another. So that's the thing. But even with all those videos, there is, most of the time, a video starts after something's already happened to make whatever's happening now happen, right?
Right.
And we have no idea. So there are always a lot of details, and that's the thing, is that's my thing that I'm afraid to say, because I feel like I'm not going to be allowed to say that, but there are in most cases you can't treat every case the exact same way. Now, because there are details for every different case, in these things that happen. But the bottom line is the same. You have to understand why everybody's upset, whether somebody did something and should have done something or shouldn't have done something, whether the police should have done something different, whether the civilian should have done something different, whether any of that stuff happened. No matter what, nobody should die. I think everybody is on the same page there, unless, people just start shooting at each other or whatever. But even that's all detailed.
No shit. Yeah.
We don't want to get too deep into the weeds, but I just mean that the bottom line, you have to just see what the big picture is, why people are upset about these things, because, people of color felt like they have been treated like they are already criminals before they've done anything, and they get stopped for things that they don't, that aren't reasons that they feel like should be, or they feel like they're getting, treated differently by law enforcement, and even not even, it doesn't even have to be a police and civilian thing. That's what people talk about with systemic stuff. It's the real estate market. It's with blockbusting and redlining and all those things, and those have been going on for years and years. and employment, and in almost every, in the justice system, and there are examples of oppression for people in all of those systems for as long as this country has existed. And so that's the bottom line. That's why everybody is, no matter what the details are in each occurrence that is happening, the bottom line is this keeps happening, and we feel like this is something that is unjust, and we feel like we are not being treated like human beings, or the same level of human beings that other people are being treated. So that is why we are speaking out. That is why we need to put a hold on games for a night or for a week or for a month or for a year or whatever it's going to end up being. And we need to address this thing because we keep talking about it. We're marching, in some cases rioting, which most people don't support. But we're making noise here. We're trying to get your attention here. We need something to change because things are not fair for people. So this is another step. This is the next step. And like I said, we're waiting on to see what's going to come from this meeting tonight, the NBA players. And I have spoken for like the last 15 minutes straight. It's time for you to speak. Speak, please.
No, you're good. You're good. You're totally good. Totally good. I don't know, man. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know what else there is on our side to even speak on this until we find out what the next step is with the NBA and Major League Baseball and a lot of other leagues and things like that. So, I mean, at this point in time, it's just going to be a waiting game. And, we can talk about what we think is going to happen and make a bold prediction like our man Andre Edwards, 06, who comes on the show, said, I believe he said the NBA season's over, bold prediction. And, it could happen. I hope for many reasons that it doesn't, not just for my own sake of wanting basketball, but just because if I really truly believe if you cancel the season, you just canceled your voice being heard for the next 2 months.
I agree with that. I think it makes more sense for whatever they want to get done, for whatever their ideas, they come up with to try to get to the next level of trying to help make some sort of change to make things more equal for people. It does make a lot more sense to be on TV every day, right? This is the playoffs. You're going to be on TV every day until the finals. So, yeah, I agree with that. I think they need to figure out whether they need to take another couple days or something like that and just have meetings all day until they come up with some sort of plan of action, and then get back to the games and try to finish this season because they're very successful with this bubble. Nobody's had COVID in the bubble. And
yeah.
They're playing games and everything's fine. They can play games and breathe in each other's faces and sneeze on each other and cough on each other and fight each other or whatever,
Yep.
And they're totally fine because they've handled it. They've handled being able to have a season really, really well. So it does make sense for them to continue that on in order to be able to use that platform however they want to use it for anything other than basketball.
Yep. So on that note, let's go into something a little more amusing, right? Let's bring the world into something we haven't done for the last week or two. Let's do a little comedy segment, a little Nosebleed Sports comedy segment. Haven't hit that thing up in a while. We've been supposed to do Sam Morril for the last couple weeks. We are here. Let's throw it out there, man. This was your pick. I'll let you get it started.
Yeah. Sam Morril, the special is called I Got This. It's from 3 or 4 months ago, I think it was. and it was released on YouTube. So if you haven't watched it and you're listening to this or watching this podcast now, go check it out on YouTube. So anybody can see it. You don't have to be a YouTube TV subscriber or anything like that. He's making his money on the advertisements because a lot of people are watching it. So it's this is a guy that I've seen a few times on mostly like clips from from popping in like at the comedy from spots on at like the Comedy Cellar and just seeing him on Comedy Central. So I was excited about this because the more I've seen this guy, the more I've liked him. He's relatively newish in the last couple of years, to me, at least. So I've seen more and more of him, and so I feel like he's picking up steam. He's picking up some momentum, and his career is really getting going lately. I was excited to watch it, and it did not disappoint me, Chris. I'll just come right out and say I really liked it. And I thought I like his style. I feel like he has a more like traditional, like premise, like setup, punchline. He's not like a long storyteller for the most part. I like because I guess maybe because I just get more jokes that way. He might do a topic, 10 minutes of a certain topic or something like that. He started out, I think, with the Me Too stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
He talked about the Me Too stuff and consent,
A lot of
that kind of
dating
stuff.
and consent and stuff.
Right? Yeah. And he's a single guy, and he's dated, and a lot of his stuff is about dating. It was, but he does, joke after joke after joke after joke about that kind of stuff. It's not like a storytelling thing. So, which I like the storytelling stuff too. Mike Birbiglia is great, and all the people that do it that way are great. But I do like his style, and I feel like he does like it's like almost by the book joke writing, and I like that about him, and I think he does it well. I really liked it, and I like I like his jokes. I like how he writes them. I like how he performs them, and I think I wrote down last week.
I feel like you like the way he performs the jokes, and I feel like you like the way he writes them, and I feel like you like the way I feel like you like the way that he keeps it, a certain way. I feel like that's how you feel.
I, I feel like you're right. Wow. So I wrote down. I thought you were going to try to guess what I was going to rate it. I thought
No,
you were getting it there.
I'm just having too much fun listening to you.
Because I feel like I say I feel like too much.
You know how you feel. That's all that matters.
I know how I feel. I know how it makes me feel. I gave this a 3.9.
Okay, 3.9. That's
just to
good.
remind people, if you've listened before or you haven't, this is your first time, we rate it 5. These are ha's, right? So
3.9 ha's.
I gave it a ha 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 ha. That was like a half. Hold on. Ha 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 ha. I don't know.
Exactly. That was perfect.
3.9.
All right. So I just want to say that this dude cracked me up.
Yes.
I laughed so much that my wife was giving me eyes like, quiet, because the kids were sleeping. Like, you're louder than the TV. So I just want to say there's 2 things that were really funny to me, right? I'm not 2 things. There's a lot, but there are 2 things where I paused it and I told my phone to take a note. So he's talking about, and like, some of the things are a little out there. There's some abortion talk. There's some mass shooting jokes. In one of the mass shooting jokes, he's talking about voices. He said, there's always one thing happens with every one of them. They all have voices that they're listening to in their head. He's like, but don't we all? I started laughing. He says, if I listened to all the voices in my head, I would be a sometimes gay street fighter. And I fell out laughing. To be able to say something like that with a straight face is hilarious to me. And then he's talking about being on a plane. And I'm totally spoiling this. If you haven't watched it, sorry about your luck. You should know by now that when we do this, we talk about some of the jokes. Another one that cracked me up, he's on a plane and he's in the middle seat and he gets up to go to the bathroom and the guy on the aisle is asleep when he gets back, which I totally agree with him. That's just not right. So he had to figure out if he needed to wake him up or do the straddle to get around him. And he goes to straddle him and is totally uncoordinated and misses, steps on his foot. And the guy lifts up his little blinder and he says, oh, what did I write down here? So what are you going to do? I kissed him on the mouth. That's what I did. Oh, so funny. Oh, it's cracking. I'm cracking up. I laughed so hard at this special. I'm giving it a 4.5, man. This dude is good. I totally suggest if you get. I remember him doing the roast battle thing with who's the bald guy?
Oh,
well, he had long hair and then he's bald, but he always did he would host these things. He's on every Comedy Central roast. Anyway, he did this thing where
Jeff Ross. Jeff Ross,
that's it. So he had this comedy battle. So you battled each other in comedy, and this dude goes up against this guy who has a really funny voice and is always like smiling with his eyes wide open, and it's a really funny bit the guy does. But they went back and forth, and that's the first time I ever saw this guy. I remember, hilarious. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I'd never seen anything else from him. I'm so happy you suggested to watch this because it was great. This is why I like when Adam picks. We pick every other week on who's going to choose the comedy specials. I always find a comedy special of some famous comedian that's coming out and doing another comedy special, and I always pick them and I always rate them terrible because I hate when comedians are already rich and famous and have nothing else to talk about except about how rich and famous they are, and I hate that. So on that note, I'm in charge of picking next week, and Rob Schneider's got a new special on Netflix. And I can't help it because I know in my heart that I love these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to believe that there's going to be a good one that comes out. So Rob Schneider, Asian Mama, Mexican Kids, is on Netflix. I'm imagining this is going to be good. I can't imagine Rob Schneider gets into how great his life is and just talks about that stuff the whole time, like so many other comedians we've had on these specials. I have faith in Rob Schneider. I believe I'm going to get back on the map with good comedy, and I'm ready to go. So 4.5 for Mr. Sam Morril, and Rob Schneider, Asian Mama, Mexican Kids comes up next week.
Yep. I'm excited about this one too. I don't know if I don't think my expectations are as high as they've been before. But
because of how terrible these, fifth, sixth time around comedians have been on this show.
Yeah. Maybe not terrible, but we've had some disappointments. We've had some disappointments for sure. I still have a special place in my heart for Rob Schneider and the group, the Rob Schneider, Adam Sandler, David Spade, group. And I, grew up watching those movies and loving those movies.
That little Saturday Night group that came out, Saturday Night Live group that came out. Yeah.
Right. I'm totally on board. I think I might have mentioned this because we talked about maybe doing this one a couple weeks ago. And I watched Rob Schneider had like a show, kind of like a reality sitcom mix sort of thing. And so it was based on his real life, and it had his real friends in it, and it had his real wife and kid in it and stuff like that. So, and I watched, it was like 2 or 3 seasons, and I watched that pretty recently. So I was kind of back on the Rob Schneider boat. So I'm good with this. I'm glad to see he released something new, trying to stay relevant. So we'll find out how good it is.
I'm excited to see how well it goes, and I'm also excited for a podcast that's going to be possibly under an hour and a half.
Yeah, me too.
Good work to you.
What's that?
There was no sports to talk about, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a major event, and it's really taking over. It's taken over sports definitely today while we're recording this. So whenever you're listening to this, you're going to know about it, and we're going to see what comes out of this whole thing. And we'll have more on that next week, and we'll find out whether we're playing basketball. And I think they've already decided they're going to go back to playing baseball tomorrow.
Baseball will continue tomorrow. The Reds have already been set up for a doubleheader. There's been multiple tweets by several players saying, don't worry, baseball will be back. We just felt like this was the right thing to do today to keep people focused on the matter at hand.
Right. So yeah, so we'll have more on this next week, and
we need one of the sports to end, right? We need either baseball or basketball to end, because I've already got. How did we make it? Was it whoever had the most gets 1 extra minute, or for every series we got right, there was 1 extra minute?
I think it was every series we got right.
Wow, so I'm already up 1, right?
You're up 1, yeah. You got that. You said the Raptors were going to sweep, and they did. They swept Brooklyn, so you got 1 exactly right. You picked the correct team and games, obviously.
Yes.
So good for you on that. Nice work. There's still some opportunities.
That could just be time off of my special, but I'm hoping that it's time added to Adams.
Well, yeah, and that's going to be determined by who we picked in baseball, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I hope you have written down, because I don't.
I do. I've got it.
Okay, good. All right. So on that note, until next week, don't forget to turn your headlights on.